geschafft hat, sind im Bock drin und das Ziel ist 1413 Meter runter Richtung Ziel. Und wir schauen mal auf das Klassement ist gleich bei den Damen. Humphries ist dabei. Mit dabei Elana, Meyers, einer äußerst erfolgreich. Humphries, erfolgreichste Sportlerin überhaupt. Olympiasieger 2022 in Rom geworden. Sie ist Olympiasieger 2010 und 2014 im Zweier. Weltmeisterin 2021 in Weltmeisterin 2012, 2013, 2020 und 2021 im Zweier. Also die haben schon alles gemacht. Stadtreiger 3,
Kann ich in der 1 Extender drin lassen oder ist schon grenzwertig?
little bumpy. 400 to the second. That's less than the blink of an eye.
Good evening and welcome to Altenberg in Saxony on what might just be a little bit of a snowy Saturday evening as we get ready to launch the IBSF World Cup for women's monobob. So first of two heats, we got 23 sleds in our entry. The fastest 20 will go through into heat 2 if the snow allows. So what about this Altenberg track? Well, as we've seen already this weekend, none of its previous tripwires have been eradicated by another year of experience. And it starts right from the beginning. Although corner one, the right-hander at the bottom of the hill seems benign, you can crash there. That's why it's named the bench curve, after German bobsledder Matthias Benisch, who did exactly that. Very few have replicated that, but losing time on the right-hand side, 2 down to 3, very easy to touch the wall. Into 4, key corner, the Omega, 2 pressures, you've got to land nicely into 5, and then traverse into 6. Then into the upper labyrinth, 7 and 8, and up to corner 9, named after Harold Tudai. Down the long straight, easy to skid and tap here, into the Kreisel, 3 pressures, there's the second, there's the third, and out. 11-12 transition can really catch out the sleds. 13 sets you up 14, uphill, over the brow, into 15, almost flat here, then starting through 16 and uphill 17 across the finish line. Well, it's not an easy track by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a favoured track among a certain elite few, one of whom makes her return after becoming a mother for the first time, Kaillie Humphries. She's been a serial winner on this track. So is Laura Nolte there. You can see her in her familiar pink, and you can also see as they're warming up in what is no longer a slushy car park, there's Lisa Buckwitz, that it is starting to snow. There's Kaillie, new mum, and she is one of 3 new mothers in the field. Kaysha Love, a winner last year in monobob, and there is Cynthia Appiah. And Appiah, where's Melanie Hasler, a Mel's brakewoman, returns also as a new mum. She'll be having her first race back tomorrow. So 3 new mothers, and of course Elana Meyers-Taylor returned last season after giving birth to her second child. So lots of new and fresh mothers in the field, in bobsleigh and in skeleton, but all eyes will be on the prize to start the season with a bang, and it's going to be tricky conditions. Kaillie Humphries gets the first start draw, and that might be the best of conditions. Debora Annen, Sarah Blizzard making her World Cup debut. And we have a couple of debutants further down in the field in the form of Melissa Lotholtz and Patricia Tanya, I knew I'd do that, Taknyanarova of the Czech Republic. So 23 sleds. Kim Kilicki makes her return to the World Cup squad. And here is Kaillie Humphries. Well, Kaillie, you sort of run out of superlatives for this woman. In monobob alone, in 8 World Cup races, she's had 7 medals. She was the world champion here, the first monobob world champs back in 2021. She's had 2 World Cup monobob wins on this track and women's bobsleigh wins on this track. She loves Altenberg. There's no 2 ways about it. 6:38 the start. And there's no question at all whether her start is where she wants it to be or not. Her driving is bound to be good. She won't have forgotten, in 12 months away from the ice, everything she's learned in a mere quarter of a century of experience. Straight down the tubes into the Kreisel. Nice 3 pressures. Just the perfect exit. Little skatey there. And out of 14, what she got? Straight over the brow into 15, right on the money. Little late flop off 15 if we're being super critical, and she will be. across the line, 59.85. Gosh, I'm applauding that. Kaillie, like everybody else, using the same Bavarian-built Ixent sled. You have your own choice of runners. They're the same runners as on the regular two-seater sled. Tuffy Latour there, waiting to help out at the bottom. Macy Tarleton as well, I saw there on the wall. So Kaillie Humphries returns, and what a place to make a comeback on her favourite track. Little hard 11.12, got a tap on the exit at 12. But she recovers from all these tiny errors. Again, tiny late flop off 15. 59.85. Well, the record is a 58.80. But the reigning Olympic champion has had her first run back. Debora Annen, the other end of the experience and age scale, just 22. Martin Annen's daughter, her third World Cup start. Junior World Championship gold medalist in Monobob, Debora Annen. 12th here in the race in February. 6:24 getaway. So she has an early lead over Kaillie Humphries. But she is giving away a good 15 years of driving experience to the American. Still in the green numbers. Gaps out to 23 hundredths. Again, the sleds are identical, apart from the liveries. You can choose your own runners. Little late flop off 9. Good speed into the Kreisel. Nice looking run from Debora Annen. Nice exit as well. Oh, again, little hard 11-12 transition. Maybe that's a factor we need to get used to in these monobobs. Having just watched the two-man, they make a better fist of it, but they're easier to control and heavier. 3/10 up. How far ahead of the line? 36 hundredths. Any day you're ahead of Kaillie Humphries. You've done a good job.
And first place currently for Debora Annen.
And again, Kaillie's run did not exactly look full of big errors. So big smile on her face, Debora Annen. And the moment you see that smile, if you ever saw her dad, you will know immediately what the family connection is. Out of 9, Tudai, you can see soft snow gradually falling. The refrigeration will be on hard to keep the ice firm. That does mean that the track might start to frost a little. A tiny bit of light snow will just help the runners run free. But any more than that, we're in trouble. So the Olympic champion, the junior world champion, third away, a rookie, Sarah Blizzard from Australia, making her first World Cup start. And Van Nieuwenhuis in the background, shouting her away. Raced here in Europe Cup the last couple of seasons. She did race in the World Championships in March in Winterberg, but this is her first World Cup start. Converting from being a brake woman into a driver over the last couple of seasons. Little wavy there in 4. Down to corner 9, Tudai, important to get a good exit out of here, and she's very late. Very dramatic. Third best speed. She might be feeling a little tight, might be just overdriving this a fraction. It's all well and good, all the training in the world, but then when it comes to race day, somehow you've got to put race day out of your head and somehow produce your very best while also treating it a bit like a training run. So 1:02.02. Whether that earns her a second heat or not remains to be seen. 5:42 the start. Well, she's made her very first steps into World Cup driving. Again here in 4, Omega, little bit of a tail happy moment there. May not have got the balance quite right on the sled. A late flop out of 9, that was the wall camera. And there is the long view from the straight. Well, she didn't end up nose grinding along the wall, as we have seen before with the monobob. Kaysha Love, two-time race winner in her rookie season last year. This is World Cup race number 9 for the 27-year-old from the USA, a winner in La Plagne and in Lillehammer. 6th in the World Champs, bronze in the Pan Am Championships in Lake Placid in March. And they are waiting for word from the jury. Now, there's been no crash. Are we seeing a track hold for sweeping? I'm not sure there's quite enough snow yet, but so the track is being swept after every 3rd sled. So Kaysha Love finished in 10th place here in February. Comfortably her worst result of last season. Let's see if she can turn that crowd upside down today. 6:03. What a strong start. Start record here is a 5:92 from Cynthia Appiah. That will not have been in snowy conditions in February 2021. That was not with these sleds either. That was in the 21 Worlds with different plank sleds. Awful exit from 9. And that just shows how wrong it can go when you come out of 9, tag the wall, and the sled just slaps its way down to the Kreisel. 3rd best speed. Gathering all back up. She does know what she's doing behind the D-rings, Kaysha. Successful as a brakewoman. She's converted into a very good driver as well, but a second back, 60.52. So Debora Annen leads from Kaillie Humphries, Kaysha Love, with Sarah Blizzard in 4th place. Tuffy helping with the sled. Looks like Kaysha's got it all right. Big looping height and a big skid there as well, 5 to 6. We tend to see that from the 4-man, backing it into 6. But again, out of 9, doesn't quite get the square tap, so the back tails get pinged out, then the nose hits the other side, the tail pings it out again. Yeah, zigging and zagging down the straight. So we've had 2 Americans, 1 Swiss. We now have our 2nd Aussie athlete, and this is Breeana Walker. Finished 7th here in February, but Bree Walker claimed her first ever Monobob World Cup gold in Lake Placid in the final race of last season. That was even after the World Championship. She won the very last Monobob race at the top level. She goes again, 6:12. Again, a good strong start from Bree. She's got plenty of experience here. 1 gold, 2 silvers, and 2 bronze medals in last year's 8 races. Never not competitive. 7th place here in February, one of her worst results of the year. Best speed into the Kreisel. Handy lead over Debora Annen, and the speed is still good. Little rocky 11 to 12. Breeana Walker looks like she's going to have just about enough to snatch the lead away from the Swiss. How close is it? 200s. All right, that'll do for a start, says Pierre Luders. Work to do, things to tidy up. Bronze medalist here in the 2nd race in 2020-2023, so that was January 23 races. Kaillie won them both, obviously. Laura Nolte took 2 silvers. Bree Walker and Cynthia Appiah both had a bronze 2 seasons ago, but February not on the podium. And she might struggle with that run to be in the top 3. Still for German sleds to come. That might be a top 6 run. We'll have to wait and see. So move on now to the world champion. I beg your pardon, we don't. We get to Lisa Buckwitz first, the bronze medalist here last year, and World Championship bronze medalist. Last year in January 2023, but last year this was one of a string of victories for Lisa Buckwitz, our World Cup champion. She absolutely was on fire last year. It wasn't just starts, but the starts certainly didn't hurt. And again, first sub-6 second getaway, only 500 off the start record that dates back to 2021 with different sleds. And Buckwitz knows how to get the best out of a monobob. Phenomenal run of form last year. Kaysha Love won the opener in La Plagne. Lisa Buckwitz won in Innsbruck, then won again in Innsbruck, then won in St. Moritz, won in Sigulda as well. 4 wins in 5 starts last year. She's just a fraction behind Breeana Walker. Has she got enough at the line? She doesn't. And she's in 3rd place behind Debora Annen.
Lisa Buckwitz, Germany.
So there at Scooton, it'll be with Lisa in the women's bobsleigh tomorrow. Women race tomorrow morning, and the 4-man is the afternoon race. Again, as is the trend, sitting as far back as you can justifiably make it. Getting weight on the back axle. Little late exit. The one thing about winning that Lisa Buckwitz hates is having to do the interview afterwards. Breeana Walker leads from Debora Annen and Lisa Buckwitz. So from our World Cup champion to our world champion, 2023 St. Moritz, 2024 Winterberg. The same woman came out on top, Laura Nolte, 2-time monobob world champion. And Lara with 8 wins in monobob. This is her 17th World Cup start, so she did all of last season, all of the first World Cup season of monobob as well. And she managed to unlock it all finally in the US. Once she started winning, it became kind of hard to stop her. Took just 1 win in the World Cup last season. That was here. 6:10, not a bad getaway at all. 5:97, Lisa Buckwitz. Well, shows why Lisa was an Olympic gold medal winning brakewoman for a start. Laura Nolte in the frame. She knows how to get the best out of this track. A little late on some of the steers. Reacting to the ice conditions, off 9, gets a tap and straightens her out. So 4th best speed into the Kreisel. What she got on the way out, let's take a look at how efficient the Kreisel was. 3rd best speed, picking it up. 11:12, a little rocky. Taps into 13. At 14, got to be clean. Still behind, but only 900ths. Gonna be close with Breeana Walker. And at the line, 900ths back. Is the track changing? I'm not downplaying Breeana Walker's abilities, but it is still snowing. Bree may just have had that golden window of opportunity. She still leads from Debora Annen, with Laura Nolte in 3rd. And right now, Debora Annen might be praying for some heavy snow so that the second heat gets called off. Now, from where she is, And with what a decent drive she put in, that might not necessarily really be what she wants, but we'll see. Switzerland second, and here is the more experienced of the Swiss drivers, Melanie Hasler. 16th World Cup start for Melly. Silver medalist in La Plagne, in that all-new podium. Kaysha Love, Melanie Hasler, and Meyers, Andreea, Grecu all taking their first Monobob World Cup medals in La Plagne, the season opener last year. She was 8th here in January 2023, but only 13th in February of this year. 6:11, only 100th off the start of Laura Nolte. Nice smooth run from 2 down to 3. Let's take a look at Omega. 2 nice oscillations, maybe a little hard onto 5. And skating into 6, sideways, still sideways. Quite got control of the back of the sled. You can't steer the rear, you can only steer the front. Only the 7th best speed. I think the tail is fighting her a bit too much here. 6th best speed, but from 4th fastest start, she's down to 7th on the splits. She'll be behind Kaysha Love at this rate. And across the line, it is 7th, 1.26 back.
For Melanie Hasler.
Well, best of 8th on this track. That was in January 23. But Mel only 13th in February this year. Oh, I think she's... You see, I'm not sure it is all the weather. She was late on 5, skidded into 6, flops off 15 here. But the tail is not following the nose. And that is a setup. That is setup and or runner choice. Now, what about Katie Bile of Austria? 8th World Cup start for her in Monobob. She was 8th here in February, and that is her World Cup best result in women's Monobob. Wolfgang Stampfer at the top of the track, shouting her on. He's also helping out with the Swiss driver coaching. A bad start, 5:16, 6th fastest getaway. Let's see what she can produce in terms of speed. Ooh, again, sliding around. Of the sled not really following the front, or not keen on following the front. 6th best speed. She too has dropped to 7th spot behind Kaysha Love on the splits. 5th best speed, but still showing 7th on the split times. It's not an untied run. Is she going to be top 6 at the line? She is, just. So 6th position for Katie Bile.
And 6th place currently for Katrin Bayer from Austria. So, jetzt wird wieder gekehrt.
So everybody is coming down in the 6th position at the moment.
Nach jeder dritten Athletin gekehrt wird. Das ist jetzt der Fall. Und danach sehen wir
Bree Walker leads from Debora Annen and Laura Nolte. And the sting in the tail in this field might be Kim Kalicki going last. So if you're in the top 20 and you're 20th, you may not be safe right down to the final sled. You saw the tail again drifting around behind the nose. She's guiding the front of the sled the way she wants to go. The back is not following. It's not being true. Elana Meyers-Taylor for the USA, silver medalist here in February, and Pan Am gold medalist, the first such to be awarded. took medals in the last 4 races of the monobob season, including the World Championships, where she was the silver medalist, as she had been in the Olympic Games. There you go. Track workers returning after having a sweep of the straight after sled number 9, so Elana gets fresher ice. 9th World Cup start for her, because of course 2 seasons ago she was back home, having her 2nd baby, and returned last year, and this year on tour with both boys. .609 getaway, and her starts got quicker and quicker all last season as she returned to fitness. And that will be something that Kaillie Humphries, I'm sure, will have watched with great interest, because she knew that she was going to be facing the same challenges, same as Kelly Curtis does, the women's skeleton, as a returning new mum. Oh, little hard hit there. 600s back. This is a very strong run from Elana Meyers-Taylor. 4th best speed. Don't forget the top 2. Breeana Walker, Debora Annen, separated by just 200ths of a second. 3rd best speed for Elana. Still only 600s back, 300s back. If she's got 1st or 2nd speed here, this could be the lead of the line. Elana Meyers-Taylor, 500s back in 3rd place.
For Elana Meyers-Taylor.
So 400s ahead of Laura Nolte, who is now down to 4th. 900s cover the top 4, 500s cover the top 3. Elana in the running. When is she not? Well, normally the days Elana is not in the frame are days she didn't come to the track. Other than that, she shows up. So, 10 down, Bree Walker leads from Debora Annen and Elana Meyers-Taylor, with Laura Nolte and Lisa Buckwitz, Kaillie Humphries racked up behind. 10 down, 13 to go. Bit of noise at the top of the track for Romania's Andreea Grecu. So Romania on a big recruitment drive over the summer, bringing in 2 new drivers to the men's 2-man bobsleigh competition. They've got 2 women in monobob and in the women bobsleigh. Starting to turn into a very strong team. 6 dead for Grecu. Finished 4th place here in February, just out of the medals. Silver medalist, I beg your pardon, bronze medalist in La Plagne. Silver medalist in Sigulda, just beaten out of the medals by Lisa Buckwitz last season here. 6th best speed at the Kreisel. Not quite where she would hope to be. She had a good start. And this is a good-looking run. She is very close. 700s back. Elana is 500s back in 3rd. 1200s back is 5th place. She's 6th by 100th behind Lisa Buckwitz. Julian Paglianu there, their driving coach. He will have seen more than me. He will have seen less than Andreea felt. Is she okay? She'll be holding herself slightly strangely in the sled. Quite wavy Kreisel. With a monobob, it's hard to hold that constant line. Got hard onto 12 in that 11-12 crossover. That causes just a few hundreds of a second of lost speed. Top 6 for Andreea Grecu of Romania. Now here comes our start record holder, Cynthia Appiah. Sin setting that record back in the Worlds in 2021. Linda Rush has got a new woolly hat this season. 6 dead for Sin. 800s off the start record. Who got closest? Lisa Buckwitz, only 500s off the start record. It's fairly mixed conditions. Let's see what Appiah's got. 1200s ahead of Breeana at the start. She's just slipped into the red by corner 9. Oh, and a horrible, horrible moment down the straight. 11th best speed onto the Kreisel. There'll be no better coming out. Oh, and hits 11-12 hard as well. And hits into 14. 7/10 back from second best start. She's gone from 6th to 8th to 9th. This will be 10th at best at the line. 60.57. Head in hands. First third of the track was okay, but the rest of it did not go as well as she hoped. See how much speed she lost by the fact that the sled does not come all the way up the outrun. Late flop. That's the extra 9. Look at the way she's steering it so hard off. She was late on. Horrible late steer, really maxed out the steering, and as a result, paying the price all the way down the straight. And then 11-12 again, mistimed that transition, ramped it off 12. 13-14, clattered the wall there as well. Not a great opener to the World Cup campaign. Things can only get better. Adele Nicholl of Great Britain recovering from an ankle injury. Not too long pre-season, the 28-year-old in her 7th World Cup start. Raced here in November 2022 in Europe Cup in Monobob. Well, she spent the last couple of weeks here learning the ins and outs of Altenberg, with Graham Richardson at the back there and Sean Olsen at the front of the sled. Crash in the International Training Week last week. She's shaken that off and come back ready to go. Sponsorship again by Welsh football champions New Saints. Didn't compete here in the World Cup in February. So let's see what she's got. First time in anger down the track. 6:30 is the start. And that will get quicker as she recovers and continue to rehab that ankle. Not bad line so far. Smooth 4 to 5. Cleanly onto 6. Good looking run from Adele for Great Britain. Comes straight down after that tap out of 9. 8th best speed into the Kreisel. This could be a top 10 run. 11-12. Nice crossover. Oh, rattles the wall coming down into 13. She did have top 10 speed. Can be close to 10th place. Cynthia Appiah ahead of Melanie Hassler, behind Melanie Hassler. Across the line in 12th place, 500s behind Melanie Hassler. Not a bad run at all from Adele Nicholl.
Great Britain.
After that nice 11-12 transition, squirreled away a bit of speed in 13.
Canada, Melissa Lotels, Canada, please prepare you next.
Continuing to snow more heavily now. This is the Exeter 9. Came off not steering so hard as Cynthia Appiah, and as a result, didn't have half the trouble down the straight. 11-12, a little late there, pinged the wall, rattled down into 13. Look out, there's some lads with the sled behind you, Adele. Now then, Melissa Lottholz makes her World Cup debut as a driver in a monobob, at least. 32 last week. North America's Cup champion in monobob last season. She was 14th in the Worlds in Winterberg. And she raced in the World Championship here in 2021 as well, the first monobob Worlds. Finished in 7th place there. A 6:06 start is very competitive in field. She was a massive medal-winning brakewoman earlier in her career. Ooh, late off 9. Not as bad down the straight as Cynthia Appiah, but not great. Only the 12th best speed. And flops out of the Kreisel. Oh, rocks and rolls, 11 to 12. 10th best speed. Trying to hang on to a top 10 run. 9,500s back. Could be ahead of Melanie Hassler, challenging teammate Cynthia Appiah for 10th at the line, 13th. So she's behind Adele Nicol of Great Britain by 1/100th of a second.
Eine Hundertstel hinter Adele Nicol. Also davor gesehen haben. Breeana führt noch vor Debora Annen.
Sub 60-second runs were Elana, Meyers, Taylor and Andreea Grecu a few sleds ago. It is definitely looking more snowy now. Was very late. And so was this 4 into 5. Well, Melissa Lottholz 13th place ahead of Sarah Blizzard. And now we get to the first of two, I beg your pardon, we get to our only Slovakian sled, Viktoria Černánska, Youth Olympic silver medalist in 2020. 11th World Cup start for Viktoria. Best result for her, 9th place in February 23 in Sigulda. She was 11th here in February 24. 6:51 getaway. Who beat her to the Youth Olympic gold. And what a little bit of an upset in the form book was Georgeta Popescu of Romania. Černánska had been the dominant force in the qualifying races leading up to the Youth Olympic Games Lausanne. Of course, the sliding events were in St. Moritz. But Georgeta Popescu managed to come out on top. Nice looking run from Černánska. Comfortably top 10 speed, clean out of 14. 15th at the start, 14th on the splits. Is she going to be ahead? Melissa Lottholz, not quite. How far back? Okay, she is 2800ths behind Mel. So 1:08. It's tough to go to help. When you're sled dogging, you sled dog for the small nations as well as for your own teammates. And hope that when you get to be a driver, everybody will show you the same consideration. Late-ish exit off corner 9, not steering hard though, so that tap comes straight. And then on the Kreisel, nice first pressure, didn't let the second ride too high. She had a clean exit as well. Viktoria Černánska for Slovakia. 15th of our 23 sleds. So 8 sleds remain, 5 places left in the race. Next up, Sylvia Hoffmann, Olympic bronze medalist in women's bob in China. Had started driving at that stage and has fined her driving skills over the last couple of seasons in monobob and in women's bobsleigh. Talks up a good race in the commentary position as well. but glad to see her on ice. Third World Cup start for Sylvia. Made her debut here in February's race. Raced in Lake Placid as well, of course, after the World Championships. Another strong starting former brakewoman. 5 what? Oh, 6.11, okay. There's a little bit of gusty wind up at the top as well. It's all going to be down to how she gets the sled down the track, though. There's skid out of 4, but that mitigated the damage, I think, in 5. Couple of little taps. Oh, and very late off 9. Look out. You don't get many more warnings than that. She's got to be clean off the Kreisel, she is. Judges that well. 12, not bad. Ups down the wall, 13. Exit of 14, clean-ish. Not seeing speeds. But from 8th at the start, looks like 15th at the bottom. So she's ahead of Sarah Blizzard. I'm sure we're going to see fantastic speeds at the moment. There's more and more snow in the track.
Laura Nolte, derzeit viertplatziert, Lisa Buckwitz auf
Snow protocol is to sweep every third sled. It's a bit kind of lucky if you're every third sled plus 1, and unfortunate if you're the third sled. Very late off 9. If that was a 2-seater sled, that would have been a roll. The reason it wasn't is there's less athlete weight on board to drag it over. Got close though. Got close, Sylvia. For Poland, Linda Wierzchewski. 25-year-old made her debut in La Plagne at the beginning of the season. 12th place in Innsbruck, her best result. Raced here in Europe Cup in November 2022. That's her only previous outing in monobob on this track. 6 World Cups last season. This is her 7th mono start. So drives the women's bob as almost everybody in the field does. Oh, a little wavy. Out of 9, late and flops. She is not on top of the sled at all. The sled doing almost as much driving as she is. Skids out of the Kreisel. Comes straight down to 13. What about out of 14? Relatively straight, looking around the cowl. Sitting as low down as she can, but she's quite a long way forward in the sled. In a normal sort of 2-man driving position. 60.93 run from Linda Wierzchewski. 14th at the line.
14th place currently for Linda Wierzchewski from Poland.
So it's behind Melissa Lottholz and ahead of Victoria Chinanska and Sylvia Hoffman and Sarah Blizzard. Late height, and the sled doesn't like it. See the way the back runner's already coming down. There wasn't enough speed to hold the sled up there. Managed to steer the nose up. The tail was having none of it. Well, 14th, she definitely gets the second heat. As we get to Margot Bock of France. So, driver from La Plagne. Margot in only her 6th mono World Cup race. Made her debut in La Plagne. That remains her best result, an 8th place finish there. place in the Europa Cup in December 2019 and in the 2021 World Championships, so she has got a few weeks' experience on the track, rather than a few years or a decade. That knocks the wind out of your sails as well as knocks the speed out of your sled. 13 speed still onto the Kreisel. And still 13 speed. She is hitting everything in sight. This is a proper Rico Peter drive. Fast, despite the fact that she's hitting just about everything on the way down. Across the line, 15th. Well, after that straight, after all that bamming and bashing, she still ends up with a 15th place run. She definitely gets a second heat.
Rang 15 und auch das sichert ihr.
Steering hard out of Tudai, but once you get that bounce off the wall, then the sled just pinballs down the straight. And all you can do is hang on. And here as well, look at this, 11-12. She drove basically straight into 12, and then bounced off the walls all the way down to 13. Somehow still had halfway decent speed. Well, it was a bit entertaining. Carla Seneschal, her brakewoman there. And Van Nieuwenhuis with the sled for Kaillie van Petegem. Turned 25 on Tuesday, Kaillie, so still a junior. 4th Monobob World Cup start. She started her career as a brakewoman for Anne. Has been driving for the last 2 or 3 seasons now. Part of the burgeoning Belgian campaign. Made her debut in Innsbruck. 12th place finish last season, and her 3rd and most recent World Cup outing was here in February. She finished in 15th place. So the first target will be to make the second heat, but her first target will be to be better than 15th. So you don't want to come back to a track and not be as good as you were the last time. So 6:28 the getaway, same as you just saw for Margot Bock. Ooh, little tap there. Avoid the walls early on. So whatever speed you put into the sled, you don't want to just drive it straight into a wall and take speed out. Square into 6. It's taken a bit of momentum away. Late off 9. Sort of comes straight, sort of. Only 16th speed into the Kreisel. You can see that first pressure wasn't great. Bringing the speed back though, 11th best speed. Little skid down there from 13 to 14, clean out of 14. Should keep the speed up. Where's she going to be at the line? Top 15, 14th place. Well, that clean run out of 14 vaulted her from 17th to 14th place on the splits. That's what a big difference that bottom part of the track can make. Get it right and it's very right, get it wrong and it really bites you. So 15th in February, 14th after the first heat for Kaillie, and plenty to clear up as well before the second run. Top of the track for our rookie from Czechia, Victoria Tyrova. Dominic Dvorak watching from the background. And as ever, the Czech sleds looking absolutely fabulous. Now this 22-year-old started sliding in 2020. She's had 15 Europe Cup races, and look how low she sits. Whoa, high up the wall in one. Almost going the Benny route and rolling it off. She raced in the Junior Worlds last season and in the World Championships in Winterberg in Monobob. Still really in the foothills of her career. This is her World Cup debut in Monobob. She's yet to have a debut in the women's bobsleigh. Skittering around, but still 13th speed. The speed is there to be found if you can keep the lines tidy. And oh, big hit in the crossover 11-12. If that hasn't cracked a rib, be surprised. Down to the bottom of the run. Where is she going to be? She's 20th place behind Sarah Blizzard with 3 to go, all of whom have more experience. That might not be enough to make the second heat.
1-1. The time in 20th place currently for Patricia Teichner-Rover from Czech Republic. Also noch ist sie da.
Patricia Teichner-Rover. Look at this, turn 1. Now you know how Matthias Benisch did it. And in very late and rode the wall all the way round. And, oh, look at that. 11-12 is a very quick transition. Doesn't look like it often from the onboard, but it is. It catches out the great and the good, and especially the rookies. She's made a World Cup debut. Georgeta Popescu of Romania did that last season in Mono. Youth Olympic gold medalist in 2020. Made a debut in Winterberg. Her best, Altenberg 2023. She was 12th place then. That remains her monobob best. She did not race here in February's race. Too bad out of Tudai, just coming a little bit off the wall, but she's lost a lot of speed. We've seen sort of 12th and 14th best speeds from the last few sleds. Georgeta Popescu has not got a lot of speed on board. At the moment, she is just ahead of Patricia Teichner-Rover of the Czech Republic, but only just. This is going to be close. 19th, all right, she squeezed in ahead of Sarah Blizzard and Patricia Teichner-Rover. Might not be enough to make the race. Yes, I think, hang on a minute, yes it is. There are 2 sleds behind her and still 2 to go, so she is in the second heat.
Tschechin Patricia Teichner-Rover dafür.
So Patricia Teichner-Rover is out. Sarah Blizzard is in 20th place on the bubble. Ooh, big skiers coming on to 4. Again, Georgeta Popescu, not the tallest athlete. She sits right up almost behind the cowl where you would normally drive a 2-seat bob. See all the space behind for the brake for the push athlete. But you need to get the weight back over the rear to stop it skidding around so much. 20 sleds down, 21 sleds down, 2 to go. Willie's back to us. Wolfgang Stampfer with the sled for Leo Hasselwanter. Leo in her second World Cup start in Monobob. Made her debut in Innsbruck. That was her only Mono World Cup race of last season. She also raced in the World Championships. She's done 3 Mono Junior Worlds because she's been racing the last 2 or 3 seasons in Europe Cup. So she knows the track, has been here before. 25-year-old with a best of 15th place. That was where she finished in Innsbruck. Let's see where the start is going to leave her. .6:42, same as we've just seen from Georgeta Popescu of Romania. So that gives her the opportunity to finish in the top 20, 19th equal fastest start. Same as Georgeta Popescu and Sarah Blizzard, in fact, who are 19th and 20th, though she's right in that starting frame. But she's lost speed early on. Whoa, and a late exit off 9 and long skids down the wall. She's in a real hole, Lea Hasselvanter. And a hard 11-12 and a tap 13. Not going to help. Wrong side into 15, comes out hard and late. Now she's just hanging onto it, trying not to wreck. Nobody wants to crash in Altenberg. 1:02.86. So that leaves her in 22nd place. No chance in the second heat, I'm afraid, to improve. There won't be a second heat for Lea.
Austria.
Track workers getting a sweat on, pushing the sleds, running the sleds up into the finish area. We're here again out of turn 9. And you see all the ice being sprayed up by the runners, well, ice and snow, and actually the wet snow really has a braking effect as well here. And then early on to 15, second pressure comes in. She sort of almost didn't really go around 15 at all, just kind of cut the corner. That never works, but there we go. You've got to learn. You only learn by doing. So finally, Kim Kalicki. It's Kim Kalicki or Sarah Blizzard of Australia. Blizzard in 20th place. Final sled in this heat is the 27-year-old German. Her 12th World Cup start. Last season interrupted by injury and a crash in Innsbruck. Maureen Zimmer took over the 3rd German spot for half the season. Kalicki returned for the World Championships. 7th here in both races in January 2023, her last time in a monobob on this track. Best result, she's got 1 silver and 1 bronze, but Kalicki struggling to gel with the monobob. However, 7th best speed. 13th at the start. That's all part of the issue with her. Up to 7th place on the splits. Kalicki showing there is speed to be found in the track if you know how to get down. Where's she going to be? 8th place at the line, 60.06. So 1 spot better at the moment than she managed here in January 2023. And Kim Kalicki makes the second heat. Unfortunately, at the end, Sarah Blizzard had to wait 19 sleds to learn her fate. She got bumped out. So did Patricia Tynarova and Lea Hasselvanter. Kim Kalicki makes it in. Nice looking Kreisel. Allowing the sled to rise and fall, and again, not too far forward. Little bit of a smile on her face. But our first heat leader is the last woman to win in a monobob. Breeana Walker. She won the season finale, the last race of the competitive season after the World Championships in Lake Placid. That was her first gold medal in women's monobob. She is hunting her second. So a little congratulatory hug there from Sarah Blizzard after Bree finished her run. Bree leads by 200ths from Debora Annen, 500ths ahead of Elana Meyers-Taylor, 900ths ahead of Laura Nolte, 1200ths ahead of Lisa Buckwitz, 1300ths ahead of Andreea Grecu. And the top 6 is basically the top 6 unless Kaillie finds some afterburners and really produces a stunning run. or one of the others has a major issue, because Kaillie Humphries, 1300s back, she's 3800s back rather, she's a quarter of a second out of the top half dozen, ahead of Kim Kalicki, Katie Bile and Kaysha Love. Then behind them, Cynthia Appiah, Melanie Hasler, Adele Nicol, Melissa Lott-Holtz, and so on and so on. And Sarah Blizzard, Patricia Tanarova, and finally Leah Hasselvanter do not get a second heat. They'll be watching the action from tracksides like Fiestas, there, our photographer, and you could join them as well at 5:30 local, 17:30 CET, 16:30 GMT, and my watch makes that in 30 minutes from now.
Die